Welcome back to Bunny Banter, first and only podcast for everything Killer Bunnies. I'm your host Matt, here with co-host Mikey.
Hello.
Apparently, I can't talk today. And as a guest today, we have our local Killer Bunnies heretic, Luke.
Hey.
Not really. No. Luke's all right. Good friend of ours. So what we talk
They
about today,
dragged me
Mikey?
into this.
Yes, Luke is here by blackmail, probably. I don't know what the blackmail is yet, but we'll find out. I'll think of something. What we talk about today, Mikey?
Today we're going to talk about the upcoming Killer Bunnies Lite.
Yes, Killer Bunnies Lite's upcoming product from Ultra Pro and the Killer Bunnies line, meant to be an introduction set mainly for new players to the game, rather than teaching them with Star Set. This is a way to get a bit of the feel of the Killer Bunnies experience with some of the cool cards from Full Set, but not the complications of Full Set, because of course that's an intimidating experience when first starting out. So today we have the privilege of revealing the entire card list, all 110 cards. So we'll be going somewhat quickly through them, and wherever we find it relevant, we'll discuss the cards. And I'll of course have the images on the YouTube video. We have Luke as the guest so that we can present 3 different perspectives of this game. For reference, I have played with the Lite set twice on Tabletop Simulator. Watch for updates on an event coming next week about how everyone else can play on Tabletop Simulator. That'll be very exciting. Watch in the Facebook group. Mikey has not yet played with Lights, but has had about a week to look at this card list and think about it. Luke, on the other hand, saw this card list about 2 hours ago. So we have varied perspectives, and hopefully that should make for some interesting discussion today.
I'll also add that in general, I am not very well, I suppose, versed in the Killer Bunnies lore or even this podcast. So
Yeah. Luke has played.
Maybe I represent the target audience of this game.
Maybe, Luke has played Killer Bunnies for as long as I have. However, there's a period of time, completely to my own fault because of how toxic I was in the Dark Ages, the first year of playing. There was about a 2 or 3 year period of time where Luke had not played, and he's just got back into it recently. So in some sense.
You're gonna ruin my reputation strategy, Matthew.
Well, he played a game recently, I should say. And he almost enjoyed it. So, in some sense, Luke is part of the target audience for this set, so that's good to have his perspective today. So, I know everyone wants to see the cards, so let's get right into it. I have divided the cards into categories, so first I'm going to pull up a bit of all of the bunnies, and they're just going to slide over on the screen as we see them. First of all, we have all these standard bunnies. I don't think we really need to talk about them too much. There's just the standard bunnies for Conquest. But then we have a couple of red bunnies. We have the red Ludicrous, who of course provides the 3 horseshoe benefits, and the red Truculent, which of course provides the rerolls. The Truculent has been rewarded for this set due to there only being 1 die in this set. Only the black die is rolled. No card rolls more than 1 die, which is interesting. What do you think about these inclusions of these red bunnies, Mikey?
I think it's kind of neat. Like I said, I haven't played. Like Matt said, I haven't played Light yet. I'm going to assume that there's no cabins in water or anything like that.
That's correct.
Okay, so that makes sense. So they're including the bunnies that you can, or the red bunnies that are still applicable to the game. I'm also going to assume there's no money in it.
Correct. Yes, there are no shops.
So,
Wait. No money?
That's correct. The only way to gain carrots is through cards, such as choose a carrot and other various run cards that will give you carrots. We'll get into that more later.
Okay.
That is really interesting. It's kind of cool. So they only included obviously the red bunnies that they can include that are applicable to this game. I like that they included it. It definitely introduces like a power dynamic that can exist in the game. I'd be interested and kind of excited to play, because if you get these two red, well, that's pretty great for you, and not so much for other people. And I like how I like just the way that they designed the card too. It looks cool. It's a little bit different than I remember it being, unless I'm. These are the Conquest bunnies, so I'm not too familiar with Conquest. So
Yeah, the artwork is slightly different.
yeah. So other than that, yeah, I think it's cool. I like the inclusion where they could include it.
Yeah, what do you think about these two bunnies, Luke?
Yeah, so it's, you know, I suppose it's going to give. My actual worry is that it gives a little bit too light of a taste of how powerful of bunnies there are in the entire game. With the, super bunnies and all of those, and if that's the right terminology.
That's right.
Yeah, like super pink and things like that. But yes, again, probably bring some targets, but I don't think they're necessarily as, much of a huge, like, ooh, as it is to turn over like a super pink in full set. So it gives a nice kind of balance where it's not like like when you have a super pink in your hand, you almost don't play it because you know that everyone is going to target you.
Right.
And so it gives you a little bit more of that guiltless kind of, ooh, I've got an edge kind of thing without having to worry as much. So the excitement of the bunnies. But I would just make sure people know that, these bunnies are quite tame in comparison to some of the shenanigans that can come.
That's quite true, and we'll see that with a lot of these cards. This is meant to be a light set, so it's showing a little bit of the potential things that can happen in full set, but not actually showing people the full force. There's no Ice 9 here. There's no infinite attempts loop, although we're close. We have one of the two cards, but so there's nothing giant like that. So these guys are some of the, I guess you could say, some of the strong cards in the set, but it's hard to say. It's I've only played the game twice, and I can't say either of these two bunnies had been relevant in either of those games, just because the three horseshoes pretty underwhelming in full set as well. The reroll bunny is quite relevant in full set, but here there just aren't enough dice rolls that it's still pretty low value, which is quite fitting with the rest of the set. Notably missing is the red spiffy bunny, who could have been included. That's the bounce back shield one. The one that provides dull and the one that provides cabbage and water, of course, would not be fit here. But that one was notably left out. I wonder if either they ran out of card space, since they needed to fit it all within 110 cards. That's 100 playable cards since you count the 10 cards. Or if the bounce back mechanic was considered too advanced for this type of set. I think either of those would have been valid options. Let's talk a bit. There's also a few half-color bunnies. Actually, we're about to talk about the holographic bunny, who is notably notorious in full sets. But something weird here is that there's actually an inconsistent amount of types. For example, there's actually you have the 5 standard bunnies of the 3 colors provided. But then you have the red ludicrous and you have the half-colored ludicrous, so there's 2 extra ludicrous. And then you have the 1 extra hypnotic and you have the 1 extra truculent, and there's no extra evils or no extra spiffies either. So some of the bunnies types are easier to triplet than others in this set, which I kind of found weird, but again, there wasn't much that could be done about that, just by nature of the half color bunnies being the way they are, where only certain colors could exist in the set. Notice that a few of the colors are missing. Although they weren't removed from the free agent, and then of course with the red bunnies, only certain of them could have existed. So it creates an interesting imbalance there that might have strategic relevance, but personally I don't think it matters that much, since all triplets would have to be what we call natural triplets with no pawns, no doubles or anything.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that like you mentioned the free agents and how it still has the orange and the green, even though orange and green are not color options in Killer Bunnies Lite. Um, I think it would have been an interesting thing for them to eliminate uh, perhaps a type of bunny, such as Spiffy or something like that, in order to include more colors. You could have done three of each color. I'm just kind of like doing this real quickly. But if you got rid of two bunnies from each, you could have added in orange at least.
Yeah, that might have worked. I'm not. I can't do the balance of that in my head very quickly, but it seems to me in this case, Jeff and Jonathan decided that they wanted to have the colors be consistent and the types, which strictly speaking matter less in terms of tripleting.
Hmm.
Even though there are no pawns, the red bunnies, of course, are relevant there. But the types are less balanced, which probably doesn't matter. But yeah, it's interesting to think about. Let's talk about the holographic bunny because he's quite scary in full set. In this set, he has exactly two weapons that can eliminate him: the quantum singularity, which if I remember right is a level 5, and the ruby laser slippers, which if I remember right is like a 6 or something. We'll get into those later. But let's start with Luke. What do you think about the inclusion of the holographic bunny?
Kind of going off of what I said earlier with the whole like, oh my gosh, of like laying down this ultra powerful bunny. This is the one exception to that rule. So, uh, yeah, the holographic is definitely going to be seen as the horrifying thing it was when it first came out. You know, when you only had the first three boosters. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah, and yes, I think. Is there, maybe this is jumping ahead of your schedule, but are there any specials or
There are
um,
very specials, but no specials.
oh, I see. Yeah. Are there any very specials included in here that might be able to uh, change it? Like maybe, I don't know, looking through here, if you were to play the angel wings on him to take away his ability to,
Right, that
you
would
know,
work. Otherwise, there are a few cards that have the potential to steal bunnies, so
yeah,
that interaction is there.
yes. So yeah, that's gonna be the one card that probably is seen as the lucky bunny draw. But then again, the next player with a steal a bunny card is going to use it on the holographic. I didn't quite see. It looks like there are horseshoes, but there's only a total of 6 in the game.
Right, yeah.
So let's see here. Ruby Slippers is a
Ruby Slippers is
6th,
6, so you could make it immortal.
but that would be
That would
no,
be
you'd have to
an
have every
incredible
single one.
draw, yeah, in 4 turns of time, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it would be maybe a little bit of a taste of it, but also maybe almost in a almost in a little bit of a I don't know I don't know how I should explain this, but in full set there's always some kind of turnaround card right around the corner. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas in this one you might be waiting a lot longer than you might experience in full set because full set has so many options. So that card
Potentially.
might pull a lot more weight in this one than it would in than any other card would in full set, at
Hmm.
least in the specific way that I expect it to.
What do you think, Mikey?
So, I just counted and now I lost count. 12. There are 20. I was just counting how many weapons there are. There are 20 weapons, and there are um, 2 weapons that will kill the holographic bunny. So you have with only 20 weapons, math is hard. That's a 10% chance, right? Of drawing the weapon that will kill the holographic bunny. And there are 100 cards.
Right.
I'm not going to do the math anymore. But anyway, the one thing I like about this, and I think that helps make it light, is that, yeah, there are only 2 weapons that will take care of this. And actually, they're kind of low, which kind of bothersome to me, actually. But you have a pretty good chance, compared to full set, of drawing a weapon that will kill the holographic bunny, or drawing a card that will let you steal it. So I think that helps to play into the whole light situation. It's kind of neat. This is one of one of the more sought after cards for you to obtain, or the one that you don't want your opponents to obtain in full set. So it does help to give that taste of the kind of power you can achieve in full set without actually making it or having it cause so much damage. Yeah, I think it was it was an interesting but good move on their part, Jeff and Ultra Pro's part, of putting the holographic bunny into the light set.
Right, yeah. Mikey, you brought up a good point there with the deck is only 100 cards total. So the odds of getting a weapon to have the potential to remove it, although it's a small potential, is relatively good. But even more relevant, and we're about to discuss this, is that there is only 10 carrots in the light set. And if everyone remembers, the holographic bunny does not count as a bunny at the end of the game. So in one of our, we played 2 games. Well, I played 2 games of the light set, and in one of them, the holographic bunny came out, and he didn't actually do that much, strictly speaking. And that player did not have a bunny at the end of the game, so it didn't really work out for that player. So it could be relevant. And it definitely gives the players a taste of full set a little bit, but I think it's in a controlled enough environment that it's not actually that scary. There's no ranks to put on it. The triplets are very difficult to come by, so having the bunny to provide you with the capability to play those aggressive cards, usually it's still only 1 card a turn, so usually it's not too oppressive, unlike it is in full set.
I have a quick but somewhat dumb question, but I feel like it should be addressed. These are not meant as an expansion pack. This is a totally standalone experience, correct?
That is correct, yes. All of the cards in the light sets are either duplicates or cards that are yet to be released, with some changes to those cards. It is strictly impossible to include this set as an expansion, with the exception of the carrots. The 10 carrots are unique, and last I heard, are technically canon.
All right.
So there you go. That's. I'm glad you brought that up, because I should have brought that up sooner. Okay, let's move on to a brief discussion on, just so I can show the cards here. Bringing up the choose a carrot cards. I'd like to say that I like how each of these has a different artwork. I think that was a very good design decision, even though it's a minor one. As far as balance goes, 10 carrots in the game. I didn't actually count this out before, but it looks like there's exactly 10 carrots worth of choose a carrot cards in the deck. Do you think that's a good balance, Luke?
Well, can I include the fact that there's no market?
Yes.
Is that something we can go on?
Go ahead.
So that is a huge change from full set, where you could, rake in money, or never get money on the other side of that, and then use the money, usually how most full set game's end is somebody having a half price coupon and buying like 30 carrots at once with their massive stack of money. Um, Personally, one of my biggest complaints, and a little bit more, I'm sure you guys have heard all the memes about me in these podcasts, but one of my biggest critiques about this game is the carrot and specifically money system. I do not like how money is randomly drawn because you can get lucky and draw $50. Or did I say? Oh, no, I think I'm good. Where you can get lucky and draw $50 in one turn, and then all of a sudden you can buy 5 carrots or whatever. So right off the bat, I love this idea of having no currency, because then it emphasizes the need to have a bunny in order to play these choose a carrot cards, whereas before I believe you could just purchase carrots from the market without a bunny.
Yes.
So that makes keeping a bunny throughout the game much more important. It takes away a lot of the random. Well, it takes away a big portion of the randomness. You still have to obviously get these cards. I do wish there were more. I think from first, I haven't thought too hard about like the implications of having just enough choose a carrot cards. What might happen is, you draw, choose a carrot card, or maybe even 2 or 3, and you have no bunnies to play them with, and so you might, for that extra, space in your hand, might just discard one and then have to wait the entire game for it to be reshuffled in. So I think that would be the one main flaw that I would say about having just enough. Also, it would allow somebody to almost reserve carrots by just never letting go of their choose a carrot cards in their hands, and essentially they are reserving carrots until the deck is reshuffled. So that's kind of a problem, I'd say.
It should be noted that there are other run cards that allow you to choose carrots, and there are run cards that allow you to force your opponents to return carrots or to steal their carrots as well. So it's not as though that there's just enough, and if you miss one, it's going to be you're going to have to go through a reshuffle. It's slightly more complicated than that. Although I will say, in our first game, we did have a reshuffle happen. And that was because we drew all the choose a carrot cards right at the beginning of the game. And it looked really close to ending for basically the whole game. And a few of them got discarded because we didn't have bunnies. They died. And we ended up going through a reshuffle. And it was a very stressful game. Lasted about 45 minutes, which is actually the time written on the box of the game of how long it's supposed to last. So in reality, I'd say 20 to 45 is a more accurate estimate from my experience so far. But yeah, it is interesting that we have the amount of choose the carrots that we do. Anything you'd like to add, Mikey?
I think it would have been hilarious if they've only would have put 9 choose a carrots in and then wouldn't have allowed reshuffles.
That would have been something.
You gotta rely on getting those run cards or something.
Yeah, you have to win the butter side up flip, and then you'll get the last carrot.
There you go.
Okay, how about we move on to the weapons? We can be pretty brief on this one as well. We have a pretty nice spread out variety of weapons. We of course have the low level ones like Ice Ice Baby. I wish it was the Kitchen Whisk, but they decided to use the Conquest version instead. That's okay. But then we of course have some more interesting weapons like the Terminators and Club and Baby Seals, both pretty decent mid-range weapons, and then some higher impact ones like Serial Apist, referencing the bunnies of the same color, and the Cluecast, which of course has the very most impactful weapon in this set, with bunnies 2 spaces away, so similar to the nuclear warhead from Quest, of course. What do you think, Mikey?
Clue is my absolute favorite movie of all time. I love that card. Just have to say that. That's the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
See,
Um,
I was going to complain about too many references in this, but I suppose the game is quite chock full of references. But
Mostly Star Trek.
um, although I do have a complaint in the movie, Professor Plum's outfit is not green. Just saying.
We'll
Anyway,
make sure to let Jonathan know.
um, I don't know. I guess they're weapons. And I
they
like
sure are weapons.
I do like I like the variety that they put in there. Um, it's the 20-sided die, or is it just the 12-sided die?
Just the 12
Oh.
side, just the one black die.
Okay. Well, um, yeah, they put in a good variety. I really like the artwork in these.
I know that they wanted to avoid it just because of the simplicity, but I feel like having one roaming red in here would probably have been a good idea, just because there are lots of cards that act like that in the main game, and kind of figuring those out, even if it's just with one card, would have been a really useful lesson, I think.
Yeah, I can understand that. Although a stronger argument can be made towards including specials in this set. But yes. Oh,
Yeah.
they try and call the other group chat. Too bad.
The other group chat has been fun.
Oh yeah, they're having fun over there. Anyways.
I've actually been a little distracted by them, so I apologize.
No problem. We haven't even noticed. Yeah, it's an interesting collection. I agree. A roaming might have been nice, but limited space in the deck, of course, so that's difficult. But yes, that would have been quite interesting. Okay, now we get to move on to more individual cards. The first category of cards I have here is cards that directly interact with carrot counts, which of course is important because the carrots are ultimately the goal. So we need to know which cards will help us get the carrots and help the opponents lose the carrots. So I have these in a relatively arbitrary order because Facebook is broken. First we have Hey, a card that originally featured in Creature Feature, I believe, and it's quite the same, where when you play it, you hold the card up and announce, hey, and everyone who looks at it must return a carrot. Mikey, what do you think about the inclusion of hey?
It's fun. Uh, I think it's good for game length to just extend the length of the game a little bit because a half-hour game, 20-minute game of Killer Bunnies just feels too short. Now, a 4, or I saw on the Killer Bunnies Facebook, the Bunny Circle, that a group of 12 people recently played an 8-hour game of Killer Bunnies. That's a long time.
Yes.
But a 20-minute, 30-minute game sometimes maybe feels a little short. So I like the inclusion of this because you're almost guaranteed, I'm sure, especially if you're playing with inexperienced players, to get people to look. And they'll have to return the carrot, and that just helps with game length.
Right. This one always gets me. What do you think, Luke?
I think this section shows off just the pure shenanigans that Killer Bunnies can deliver the best out of all these sections. And Hey being one of the principal cards to do that. So, it's so Killer Bunnies to just, hear somebody say, hey, you look, and then all of a sudden you're punished for doing that very instinctual reaction. Killer Bunnies has lots of little things like that, and it gives the appropriate flavor to the players because honestly, mechanics like that can turn a lot of people off, I think, to the game, and that's okay because this is just the type of game it is. Some people like those mechanics, some people don't, and if you don't like those mechanics, you probably won't like Killer Bunnies. So, but yeah, I think Hey is a hilarious card when it's played. Can I actually talk about another card I noticed on here?
Oh, we will get to it.
Okay. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Hay in particular and this section in
Okay.
general.
Moving on to the next one, Johnny Wishbone. Now, this card, I think, was premiered in the Fantastic Boost. I'm testing all my memory here. Hopefully, I'm getting these right because I didn't write them down. I meant to do that. Johnny Wishbone in full set allows the player to guess the birthday of all of the players in the group and get a carrot for each one. In this context of Light, it was nerfed, quote unquote nerfed. It was made more balanced, is more accurate, since it's only 10 carats, to only working on the opponent to your left. So if you know the birth month of your opponent to your left, then you will get to choose a carat. What do you think about the inclusion of that, Luke?
So what was the original?
Normally it would be for all players. You would, if you can guess each month of every player, you get 1 carat for each in full set.
That's pretty good. I know your guys' birth months, so if I ever play with you guys, it's guaranteed. So that's nice, and I think it's good to limit it to 1, especially in a game with only 10 carats, because that could, depending on how many players you have, easy swipe at the board if you just got to go around. So yeah, good one.
Absolutely. What do you think, Mikey?
I think it's nice that they changed it from the larger one, just because there are so few carrots in comparison to full set. To just the opponent on your left. I also think it could be potentially either very good or very bad if you're married. If the opponent to your left is your spouse and you know their birthday, well, good for you. However, it could be very dangerous if the person to your left is your spouse.
And you guess wrong.
And you guess wrong. So.
Oof.
Ooh, drama. Social interaction. Somebody's getting targeted that game.
That sounds relationship advice, eh?
Hey, yeah, Luke and I were talking about that earlier. Okay, moving on to a card that's also from Fantastic, if I remember correctly. Kubrickian Glee. And this card has not been changed. It may be used once by a player and given to an opponent who must kill at least 1 bunny before he may choose a carrot. So as long as you give this to your opponent until they decide to play a weapon or something and are able to kill a bunny, they cannot choose any more carrots. Now, choose a carrot is exclusively referring to choose a carrot cards or choose 2 carrots, not cards like Johnny Wishbone for reference. That was a clarification that was made a few months ago, I believe. What do you think about that, Mikey?
Again, I like the inclusion of something that can help to extend game length. This one, it'd be interesting. I'm excited to play Light. I want to see how the passivity meta, specifically passive strats, works, because this one really doesn't do well for somebody playing passive strats. Interestingly, I think that passive strats would work pretty decent in Light, considering the only way you could acquire a carrot, or the main way to acquire carrots, is through just playing choose a carrot card, which is probably the best way for a passive person, unless you're going to do some sort of trade. However, this directly counters the passivity or the passive strats there, so it'd be interesting. I would be interested to see exactly how that works and how the passivity meta has changed because of the nature of Light.
Yeah, that should be very interesting to test out once we actually get our hands on a physical copy. What do you think, Luke?
I was also going to mention passive strats. Now, personally, I think passive strats are almost like the modern art of killer bunnies. It's only viable if you believe it's viable.
You're half right.
And honestly, I was gonna actually disagree with Mikey and say that this one rip passive strats in this game. With the inclusion of so many aggressive cards, I think an overwhelmingly amount of aggressive cards, and not necessarily by the game's definition of aggressive, but more or less, aggressive in the nature of how they're used. Again, you can discard and stuff, but personally, I don't think that's necessarily that fun. Yeah, I think this one. I think the money strats really help the passive players in full set if they are going to do passive. And not having the money is actually a huge deterrent to anyone trying to do passive strats, because the choosy carrots are so, hard to draw in comparison. And there's so many weapons and so many, of these very specials and run cards which do things. I disagree with Mikey there. So, but granted, how many people are going to play passive strats when they pick up this game for the first time?
Not many, since this is dedicated to new players. Yes, I agree.
And also, personally, I just think passive strats almost goes a little bit against the whole, killer bunnies aspect of the game.
Jeff agrees.
However, I do recognize that some people like to play that way, and obviously, okay, so I'm a diplomacy player, so don't believe anything I say, but yes, so yeah, just if you know about diplomacy, I don't know if here's the right place to expound upon that.
Definitely another social interaction game.
Yes. Care Bears are very viable in diplomacy and killer bunnies, but even Care Bears have their teeth.
Which we'll get to 5 cards from now. Okay, let's move on to the next card. Now I got people excited for the 5 cards from now. We'll see what it is. But next card is Number Wang, which was released in the La-Di-Da London booster. This is the card where the player to play it picks a card in their hand, names the identification number, and then some other player has to pick a card that starts with the number that the previous number ended with, not counting the leading 0 if you don't want to. And whoever ends, so whoever gets to a point where their opponents cannot reveal another card, that player would normally get 3 carrots in full sets. In this set, of course, it has been reduced to 1 carrot for the sake of balance purposes. What do you think about the inclusion of this card, Luke?
Well, I love the reference. I know I said that the references are a little bit weird in the light set, but I love the reference personally, so just gotta point that out there. And also I feel like it's very Killer Bunnies and very Jeff. In fact, I was gonna make a comment earlier. This was the card that I was talking about with Hey. If Number Wang really were a game, it probably would be a Killer Bunnies clone. With the massive rulebook.
Yeah, just obscure rules everywhere. How long is the QCC? 200 pages? No.
Yes. Reading this, I don't know. It's quite a charming card. But I actually have a quick question. Did you say Lady in 0? Is that like the 0 identification number card? I've never heard of that.
No, leading 0 is what I said.
Leading 0.
Yeah, you can ignore that, yeah. No, there's no card called Lady in 0. There is now, Jeff. Make the card. I don't know why it is, but now you have a new card name, Jeff. I know you're listening.
I was gonna say.
Lady in 0.
Lady in 0. Spicy.
I don't know what it does with the identification number, but it does something. We'll let Jeff work on that one.
Well, that could be a cool idea, a 0 identification number. I don't know if there is a 0 identification number.
No, they start with 0001 with the genial, so yeah.
If you had 0000, then that could be something special.
It could be.
Yeah.
Much less, perhaps.
But yes, that's where I'll stop about the Lady in 0.
What do you think, Mikey? I'm sorry, Luke. Do you have more to say about this?
No, that's it.
Okay. What do you think, Mikey?
I think that's Number Wang.
That's Number Wang.
That's Number Wang.
So we'll move on to another card that references the identification number from the ominous Onyx booster, 075. Forces all players to reveal a card from their 5-card hand. The player whose card has the highest card identification number gets to choose a carrot. What do you think about the inclusion of this card, Mikey?
I think it's cool. I think it's interesting that they have a series of cards that I'm noticing now. that have to do with the card identification number. Also, I think it's interesting because the card identification numbers are smaller than what you have in full set. And it's interesting because
Rip Math
you
is going
have
to
less.
memorize all the new serial numbers.
Well, it won't be that hard with 100 numbers.
Anyway, sorry to cut you off, man.
That's all right. You have it when you play in full set. I mean, you have how many cards are there in full set?
1366.
Yeah, okay. You have that many, and so you have it just keeps going by tens, where you only have 10 set of 10 numbers now. So it's I'm not sure if it's what am I trying to say? Well, just the amount of cards and how the identification numbers there are less options that you have compared to full set where you could just keep going on and on with the highest. I think I'm making sense. If I'm not, they can figure it out.
I think I know what you're getting at, and it's something that I want to bring up, is that in full set, it is quite often the case where you realize, hey, I have a card from the latest booster in my hand, therefore I have the highest, therefore this card is safe to play. In Light, you honestly have no idea what's in your opponent's hands because they're all the same card back. So you might have the second highest identification number in the game and someone else has the highest, so it feels bad. In full set, it's easier to play around. What do you think? Anything you'd like to add, Luke?
I'm actually a little disappointed that they did 2 serial number cards because it looks like this section, like the run cards, are showing the weird, goofy gimmicks of the game. Like you've got Butter Side Up, which we'll talk about later, and Hey, and the ones we talked. And I wish they would have included something instead of having 2 of the same gimmick per se. I wish they would do something like B flat, where you have to grab your key and balance it. This show off a little bit more of those wacky cards and all that. Because in reality, the serial number cards are not that numerous.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point there, is that it is a repeated mechanic. I wouldn't use B flat as the replacement personally, because it's not everyone has a house key on hand.
Well,
but yes, I know what you're saying.
Just in general.
Yeah. Some different card perhaps would have been a better fit. But yes, let's move on to the next card, Rare Perfect Square, which originally released in Caramel Swirl. I think I've gotten all these so far. And that card in Caramel Swirl, it was used to gain metal cards, and I believe to roll 3 or 4 dice. I think it's 3. In this set, you get to roll the 1 die. If you roll a 1, 4, 9, you get to choose a carrot instead, of course, because of course there's no metals. What do you think, Luke?
Let's see here. Oh shoot, I lost it. I lost the picture here. I'm sorry. Yeah. Ask Mikey first.
Mikey, what do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting. You have a 25% chance of getting a carrot, which is obviously worse than a 50% chance because math. But I'm not quite sure if it really extends game length or not. I don't think so, honestly. I feel like if it was just one number, that would be guaranteed, extending game length. I don't know if I like the insertion of this card in there. I mean, it's fine and it's fun, but I'm not sure if I think that was the best choice.
At least it's not shuffleboard.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say is obviously 25% chance to choose a carrot. That seems worthless, right? Why wouldn't I just want to choose a carrot card instead? This card is non-aggressive, so that does have that minor benefit. Why you want to gain carrots when you don't have a bunny is another question entirely, especially in a 10-carrot game. But yes, I do agree this is one of the lower value cards in the set, which is saying something in the light set. Anything to add, Luke?
It does take away from the whole need to reshuffle for that, hopefully. But then also, I would just say, again, there are lots of cards where you're dice rolling and you're looking for numbers. I wish they wouldn't have been so soft with their advance, because this is like, honestly, this one, if some of those things, like what's it called, what's the one with the zodiac die, and like you have to get everything and like
Pre-session.
perfect precession, yeah. Like if precession is taking the gloves off, this is fighting with like pillows tied to your hands. you know like why not show them something like Texas Let Go? That would be really fun. Or even just Supplies Surprise.
Both of those would have been really fun, but unfortunately both of them are limited by the fact that they require more than one die to be in the set. Texas Let Go out of convenience, and Supply Surprise out of necessity. There's only the one black die in this set. It's always important to remember, because that's completely unique. We don't have a Killer Bunny set that only has one die. In some sense, that's a downside, but it's also less confusing. So I see what they were going for. I don't quite agree with the philosophy, but I see what they were going for.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, next card is Return of Carrots. I don't think we need to say much on here, so let's just move on to an exciting one. We made it to the 5 cards later one. The Weakest Link, recently released in the La-di-da London booster.
I love this.
Now this card, I haven't actually seen it go off extremely in full set yet. It has giant potential, and the theory is if you are playing extreme passive the entire game and have very little economic status, this card allows you to steal bunnies and or carrots until you have one more than the player with the second least. So if the player in second to last place has 8 carrots and you have 1 carrot, you'll probably take carrots from the player. I mean, that's a terrible example since there's only 10 carrots in the set, but I'm referring to full set for a moment. You get to take carrots likely from the player with the most strategically you would do, and bunnies until you have one more than the player that was in second to last place. So it's a very big swing card. In this set, I expect it's not as big of a swing since there's only 10 carrots. There's only 10 carrots to choose from, and all the bunnies are relatively weak, with a few exceptions. But even they are very much watered down in this type of formats due to there not being ranks and triplets being very sparse. What do you think, Luke?
Okay, so I just think back to the game we played last.
You would have liked this one.
Well, in general, one of the big complaints that I've always had about full set is that the winners usually they feel like the winners the whole game in a weird way. There are lots of turnaround plots, but usually they can be easily foiled, especially if you get, 2 people who are kind of dominating in an alliance. However, honestly, like in this setting, it's a really great one. In this setting, I'd say perfectly balanced card, but the implications in full set are amazingly drastic. It's not like it's not aggressive. It's oofda. I think, although I will say that in my desire for there to be more of this, ability to get out of last place, this card maybe is a little too much, just because of just the unrestricted kind of disgusting ability to steal whatever. Because think about this too. Let's say somebody has, a super bunny, triple celebrity, a few reds, and then like a bunch of like just normal, colored normal bunnies. You just steal the good ones first.
Absolutely, yes.
And then you not only have you just gotten into second to last place, effectively you just got into first place because you can capitalize off those gains, those triples, And also, would it be possible to stave off? Well, no, never mind. That thought just died. Never mind. I answered my own question. One question.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is certainly an interesting card. In full sets, it's expected that in larger player counts it is less strong because the player in second to last place is presumably as behind as you are. So there's that
Yeah.
interaction. In two-player game, absolutely disgusting. But we don't think about cards in terms of balance. In terms of a two-player game, we always think of it in terms of 4+. Completely agree with you that even in a four-player game, five-player game is usually fixed, but even in a four-player game, if two players make an alliance, it can seem like they are ahead a lot of the time. Light, I didn't feel that as much when I was playing it because there isn't that big tempo freight train type capabilities in Light. The triplets are hard to come by, no ranks, no calcite conundrum, no trips, none of that nonsense, just these. So weakest link, therefore, since freight train doesn't exist, realistically speaking, weakest link is relatively a weak link in the set. Oh no. I
It's a
tried.
balanced card. It's a balanced
It's a
card, yeah.
balanced card, yes. Anything you'd like to add, Mikey?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. The first one, okay, so is it you have to steal bunnies and carrots? So say you have 4 carrots and 3 bunnies, and I have 1 carrot and 1 bunny. So I need to steal.
You would steal a combination of bunnies and carrots until the total of yours is one more than the total of mine.
No,
Wait, so are they counted separately or together?
Together, counted together.
So the combination carrots plus bunnies.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're comparing your number with the next player who's behind. So it's not as though you get to take all of the stuff that's from the players ahead. You'll usually take stuff from them, but won't be half of it because if you'll hit the threshold of the other player who's behind quite quickly.
This is interesting.
Couldn't you take no, never mind. I was going to ask the same dumb question. Okay, go on, Mike.
Can you steal the holographic bunny in this?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so I feel like this is interesting in Light, just considering that there are so few carrots and comparatively bunnies. That it's not going to, I don't think it's going to cause you to really advance much, especially if you're doing it I don't know how this would work in a 2-player game, especially in Light, but I honestly don't know if this one is all that effective in Light compared to full set.
That is accurate to what I've seen so far. We in the 2 games that I played, we saw it played once. I believe Chris got to steal 1 carrot, and that was it. Because all of us were relatively in equal positions, because Lights doesn't have any freight train-like abilities, so tempo is relatively even throughout the game as long as all players have a bunny. So yes, I don't expect this card to be anywhere near its potential in full set. But just by nature of Light. Same goes for the holographic. Same logic. But we'll see. That you might run into that situation where you just have had a awful game and you draw weakest link and you just get to steal 3 bunnies and or carrots or even 4 perhaps, and you'll be in an okay position from that moment onwards.
All right.
Okay, moving on to Where's the Beef? Oh no, I forgot when this card was released. I have failed. I lost my streak. Anyway.
I'm no longer the Killer Bunnies god.
I'm
Goodbye.
no longer the Killer Bunnies god. I know it's somewhere in the quest line. Or is it? No, maybe it's not. Maybe it's Conquest Red. I'm going to check that afterwards, but I think it might be Conquest Red. Where's the Beef? Forces the last opponent who received a carrot to give one of his carrots to the players, so an opportunity to steal carrot. What do you think, Luke?
Pretty straightforward. Steal a carrot thing with a nice reference. So It's got my seal of approval, I guess.
How about you, Mikey?
Yeah, I like that you can steal, or you can you're able to give away carrots, which helps to. Actually, this one seems to help to speed up game length. I think there's a nice balance I'm noticing with the whole carrots giving and taking. A nice balance of cards that extend game length and cards that speed up the game length. So then maybe you'll play a game. Well, I would assume if you play a game that lasts longer than 45 minutes, that you have probably used all the cards already. I don't know. There's a nice balance. That's all I can say.
Right, yeah. I don't have too much down on this one, except that I was close. It's from Conquest Blue. I was 2 boosters off. I don't know my Conquest very well.
Shame.
I should have gotten the Conquest Adventure there. I know it better. I have the original sets. Weird flex, but okay. Moving on to Blinky Madison, which hasn't been changed. You challenge an opponent to a staring contest for one of their carrots, and if you beat them in the staring contest, you get to steal their carrots. Personally, I've never liked this card very much because I'm not very good at staring contests, and it doesn't seem like it's a good enough reward for me to even attempt it. But what do you think, Mikey?
I think I'm going to steal what Luke's probably going to say, that this helps to show off the wackiness of Killer Bunnies, so that's nice. And it also helps you to get carrots, which speeds up game length, I suppose. Well, no, actually, this doesn't really speed up game length, and neither does Wear the Beef, because you're just trading carrots over to one. So it doesn't actually cause you to take carrots. So actually, I like it more because it doesn't speed up game length. So that's nice.
Anything to add, Luke?
This is going to be a free pick a carrot for me.
There you go. Luke likes this card. Moving on. Oh, that was from Fantastic Booster, by the way. I'm still getting these. Okay. Moving on to Butter Side Up. We already mentioned it. This card in full sets allows you to take, is it 3 Radish and Milk cards each? No, that's not right. It allows, I remembered, it allows you to steal all of the opponent's Radish and Milk if you can flip the card in the air and it lands face up. And obviously there's no Radish or Milk in Light, so it is instead a choose a carrot. If you can flip the card skillfully, definitely not luck based, and have it land face up. What do you think, Luke? More wackiness?
Yes, more wackiness. I think I mentioned this card earlier. I just want to say, if we ever do pick 3 radishes again, I love my -2, 0, and infinite strats.
Anything to add, Mikey?
No, it's pretty basic. It's nice. You get to choose a carrot. Does speed up game length though, so that's kind of sad. But whatever.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Game has to end eventually. Okay, moving on to our final run card in this category. I feel like we're going relatively slowly, but that's okay. There's a lot of cards to cover. Everyone wants to see them.
I was going to make a comment about speeding up podcast recording time.
Yes, we will speed up a little bit here. Carrot Exchange, not too much to say. I think it's a great card to include, originally from the Conquest Red booster. Butter Side Up was Conquest Yellow. I don't think there's too much to add here. So moving on to a section on bunny modifiers, which we only have realistically one actually important card to talk about, and that being the Angel Wings. The Heavenly Halo of Conquest, of course. A very relevant card to include in this set because obviously it cannot die. You give it to a bunny, that bunny can't die. The rules in effect that, of course, that bunny still can't play aggressive cards. Briefly, what do you think, Mikey?
I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously this is like one of the most basic cards. Like right away when you learn how to play Killer Bunnies, this is just something that you automatically are always wanting until you realize, after a while, once you get it, that you only have one bunny and then you can't play aggressive cards. But like this was one of the first cards that I learned about. It stuck out to me. I mean, well, the Heavenly Halo did, but this is, pretty much the same thing. And but I think it's important to include, but I also think it's interesting to include, just considering how few cards there are and how what 25 what am I thinking? 1/5 of the game, so 20% of the game, of the cards in the playable cards in the game are weapons. So that's interesting. And there are much more aggressive. There are other aggressive cards too. So you have a good chance of you being useless for quite a while in the game, I think, which is unfortunate. But I do think that this was an important card to include, just because it is one that sticks out so much when you first learn to play.
I actually have a comment here.
Yes.
In the description, it does not mention not being able to play aggressive cards.
It's in the bunny bits.
Okay.
As it is in full sets.
Which is something that I have to complain about.
Yes, that is a valid complaint, especially with the light set as this. However, I have a more valid complaint with the next card that I thought of. The next card that is included is Blanc, originally released in Twilight White. Thunder Bunny makes their free agent. Red bunnies with Blanc lose their special features. I hate that phrase in the light set, because the holographic bunny is red, and the Blanc does not remove the holographic special features. So that's going to confuse new players significantly. And they're going to play it wrong, but there's nothing I can do about it. Everyone's going to be like, but it says it removes the red bunny special features. I'm like, no, that's not the mechanic. If you played full set, you would understand more, because you would understand there's more unique bunnies than the holographic. There's also Doggo, Lonely Ranger, Bunny Detroit. All of those guys also would not lose their special features. It's a completely separate mechanic from the red special feature mechanic. So I do not like the inclusion of Blanc. I'm not sure if there's much more to say on that. Although Mikey's a fan of free agents, so there we go.
Yeah.
Not to be pedantic or anything, but just the whole. I think it's. I don't know. When you said Blanc, I don't know, as a French speaker, I think no, it's Blanche, but then Blanche would have an e at the end, and I'm like, wait, Blanche. Blanche is an English word, which I think means to turn something white, so it might be Blanche. But,
it probably is. I am terrible with pronunciations. I've pronounced it both ways with this card before. I opted to switch, which is even worse. Okay. Moving on to next.
Is there a French translation? There is a French translation.
There is a French translation, yes. Not of Light.
Yeah.
There's one of the starter sets, I know for sure. I almost bought it. Okay. We can pretty much skip over the next three cards. We have three instances of the Lucky Horseshoe. We've already talked about them a little bit. Not too many big implications there. So moving on to more of the unique cards. Tale of Two Bunnies. Not changed from full sets. Forces an opponent with at least 3 bunnies to give away 2 of them. So a way for bunnies to be moved around a bit. Personally, the bunnies in this set aren't that relevant. But the having bunnies is extremely relevant because the game is so short. So in full set, you would normally see this card used to gain control of the higher value bunnies. In this set, I expect it to be used to gain control of more bunnies. Hopefully the opponent gives them to you, which he probably won't. He'll probably give them to the other opponent, so it feels bad anyways. But
break up triples.
Yes, it does break up the theoretical triple that usually won't happen, although I saw it happen once in 2 games. But yes, it does function pretty well against a player who is ahead. I'm not sure if there's much more we want to say about it, but it's pretty basic card. I don't think it will help the player of the card that often, because normally if you play this card on opponents, they're usually not feeling generous enough to give you the bunnies. They want to give the opponent who didn't harm them the bunnies. So,
Especially in a 3-player game. Then
yes,
you-
especially in a 3-player game.
Or a 2-player game.
2-player game, it does work. That will work quite well. Stealing 2 bunnies for free. Fair and balanced.
Also, I just got to point out that you can't tell which bunny the tail belongs to. Just saying.
I never noticed that. Jonathan's a genius.
Based on the angle, I'd say it's the French one, but
It might be. I'm alternating between them right now. It's spooky. Moving on to Bunny Bites. This card was changed from full set. The full set mechanic is actually quite complicated. I actually really like this mechanic better. I wish this was how it was written in full set, where this player, the first opponent to show the player a picture of a bunny on his phone, another one of those unique fun mechanics, may retrieve 2 bunnies from the discard pile, one for the player and one for himself, and place them directly into the bunny circle. The first opponent to show you the picture of the bunny on the phone, you will get a bunny. You will both get a bunny. And that's just a very simple benefit. I very much wish the original card was printed like that. The original card, the opponent who shows the bunny gets to resurrect any one bunny from the discard pile, and the player of the card gets to steal one of their original bunnies. Which means if they have a high value bunny, they're not going to be the one to reveal the picture on the phone, so therefore feels bad. And if someone with a low value bunny does it, then they're going to get a high value bunny and you're going to get a low value bunny in exchange. It feels bad either way, especially since those details aren't all written on the card in full sets and players don't even realize the interaction. The whole clause of the player getting something is completely left off of the card in full set. It's all in the bunny bits. It seems like only the opponent's benefits, which is terrible. Jeff, what were you thinking?
There should just be like a little mark to just note if there's extra rules in the bunny bits.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Jeff, work on it. All future expansions, we need a symbol saying "See bunny bits."
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Also, oh shoot, I was gonna say something that totally went out of my head. Oh well. Oh yeah, wait, yeah, Matthew's the guy here with the bunny on his lock screen picture.
Actually, it's a cat currently, but I do have a bunny GIF always ready. And yes, I used the incorrect pronunciation of GIF there. I know it's GIF. GIF is more common.
GIF.
Moving on to Text Time, another fun interaction card. It hasn't changed from full sets. The player of the card, all opponents must send them a text message with the words text time, and the player whose message arrives last, or any players whose message doesn't arrive within a 1 minute period of time, they all lose their next turns. So the key is to turn off your cell phone so you don't receive any of the messages, and then you have a mass Baker Street. But that's quite aggressive, of course. Anything we want to say on this one?
Combo banana phone.
Combo banana phone. Yes, that's coming up. Banana phone combo. They planned it out. Excellent point. What if the phone is on silent? Oh no, mine always is for bunny strats. Okay, moving on to one that was probably expected. Bunny exchange. We had carrot exchange. We also have bunny exchange. This one's more relevant than Tale of Two Bunnies because the player of the card gets to choose which bunnies to exchange. So perhaps one opponent has been really ahead of the game and has both the angel wings and the holographic, and you get to trade both of those for something like a blue evil bunny. That's a pretty good trade.
Hopefully the angel wings on the holographic. But...
That would be something. Yes, but I love the inclusion of this card for that reason. I'm not sure if there's too much more to say on that, and we're kind of rushing through it at this point. It's getting late. We still have a relevant amount of cards to go through yet. We're getting close. We're getting close. Daft Draft also hasn't been changed. Originally released in Pumpkin Spice? Probably. Allows all players to pass one card from their hand to the next player clockwise, and then you repeat 2 more times so that everyone gets new cards. Obviously, everyone's giving away their worst cards, so perhaps often not relevant. What do you think, Mikey?
Well, let's see here. So you end up doing it 3 times, correct? That's a sad day if it's a 4-player game.
Yes.
But I think
it's 3-player game is the math there.
1, 2.
On the third time, you'll get your card back. Yes.
Yep. Okay, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not good at math. Anyway, but yep, I think it's a good card to include. It shows off slightly the kind of the wackiness, not too much, but just a little bit, and it helps to shake things up a little bit, especially if there's this. What I hate seeing is when new players just have terrible cards, and they don't have anything fun to do in the game. And so, like, how do you get rid of the card? You just play a useless card and have to discard it. Well, that's no fun. But this allows you to get rid of a card and maybe you get something exciting or something with a fun interaction. So I think this is actually a perfect card to have in a beginner light set.
Yeah, I agree.
I have to agree, and also just say as well, since I'm the heretic here, I do hate that about Killer Bunnies, because it just seems like every time you want to have fun, all you draw are, I don't know, Kinder Bunny Waters.
That's when you have fun with memes instead. Say, hey, I have this really powerful card, better watch out. Kinder Water, get him. That's my favorite. Okay. Moving on to I'd say a really relevant card in this set, probably one of the most relevant cards due to the nature of Light. Dead Zone forces an opponent to sacrifice one of his bunnies before he can play another aggressive card. Bunnies are hard to come by in Light. There aren't many resurrection mechanics, and all the bunnies are relatively weak, so you're not usually going to get a triplet or anything like that. This is scary. I think this is a card to definitely watch out for. It's not going to intuitively be a card to watch out for new players, I expect, but as soon as they realize, hey, I need to have 2 bunnies before I can play my next aggressive card, that ruins all of my plans. Maybe I don't even have a second bunny. I definitely don't want to sacrifice one. The game's close to ending at all times because there's only 10 carrots. I mean, a player can only get 2 carrots in their turn probably, but still, only 10 carrots. Anything to add about that?
It helps extend game length.
There you go. Mikey likes extending game length.
Isn't there another one, though, in here? Ground Zero. I wish they would have just kept only Ground Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it seems a little redundant, and also, like you said, it's just a little too harsh.
Yeah, Ground Zero's pretty similar, actually, in interaction, but more unique to specifically weapons. The player doesn't really want to play a weapon until someone else does. But yeah, we'll get to Ground Zero. Next is a card that I'm really glad is in the set because I'm a big fan of hand disruption type mechanics. Do the Shuffle. Originally released in Conquest Violet, if I remember right. I'm pretty honest, I started missing those. That is where all the players shuffle their 5-card hands together, and we deal out new hands. So the key is put all these irrelevance cards in your hand, like the, level 1 weapons, and then do the shuffle and probably get opponents good cards, hopefully.
Exactly.
Yes. Luke is a fan of this card.
I am. It is the right kind of shenanigans. Yeah.
Yes. Anything to add, Mikey?
like I said before, with the whole, with the previous one, with well, I can't remember what it was called. We just did it. Oh, the Daft Draft. This is nice for a beginner set because it does allow you to, if you have crappy cards, to hopefully get not crappy cards.
There we go. Definitely a nice inclusion. I like this one even better than Daft Draft because it's more extreme, and therefore you can have more impact. Draft often feels irrelevant because everyone's giving away their worst card. Ground Zero, we already talked about a bit. Somewhat iconic card of forcing the next weapon revealed to be played on the targeted bunny. Pretty relevant in this set since weapons are one of the primary ways to kill bunnies and one of the only ways to kill bunnies in this set, without a lot of the feed the bunny cards, of course. So that's definitely a card to watch out for. But I don't think there's too much to say that hasn't been said already. So let's move on to Hades Heyday, an interesting inclusion from Conquest Violet that allows the player to eliminate any bunny modifier under any bunny in the bunny circle. We saw all the bunny modifiers are already. It was the 3 horseshoe cards, Blanche, and the Angel Wings. Obviously, the Angel Wings being the natural target, and in my opinion, the only target relevant enough to use this. I don't know.
Course.
Yes, I don't know if it'd be worth it to remove 3 horseshoes. And Blanche is often a downside. Maybe you maybe you use Hades Heyday on your own Blanche Red Bunny, but that seems like a very specific edge case. Save this one for the Angel Wings. Next card, Narcoleptic Dog. I think that describes all of us right now. Maybe given to any opponent whose bunnies may take a 2-round nap. That definitely describes us. The opponent can't play any aggressive cards for 2 turns.
How about a 2-year nap?
2-year nap in the case of Luke. He didn't play any aggressive cards. That is true. Interesting card to include. Realistically speaking, there aren't that many aggressive cards in this set, at least not that many relevant ones. Besides the weapons and besides a few run cards here and there, there's quite a few.
Pick a carrot. Pick a carrot.
Choose a carrot is non-aggressive technically.
Just imagine if you had 2 choose a carrots lined up.
Yes.
How devastating that would be.
Well, Narcoleptic Dog does not affect choose a carrot. Again, distinction, that brings up a point. I don't like the inclusion of this card anymore because I don't like having to explain to new players the distinction between requires a bunny and aggressive, because choose a carrot is the one exception, and that requires a bunny but is non-aggressive. So Narcoleptic Dog does not affect those. But it
Get that symbol in there, Jeff.
There you go. Another. Take a look at the bunny bit symbol. You know?
There is a yellow ball with red stripe here.
That is accurate, but there is no yellow ball with red stripe in Light.
Yeah, I've noticed there are a couple other ones coming up, and it's
quite mysteriously in there. You can tell that's late because my jokes are getting worse. Moving on to Selective Disclosure, a card that forces all the opponents to reveal the top and bottom run cards. Very interestingly, this card was changed. In full set, they remain face up. In this light set, they're flipped back face down once you get the chance to look at them. I have no idea why that change exists.
I prefer having them face up.
I agree.
The original card.
I agree. I don't know if that would have been too confusing. I guess. Wait, hold on. Wait. No. Never mind. I take it back. That's not accurate. I read this card wrong first, so there we go. Now this card has confused me. It won't confuse the new players, but it's confused me because it has the clause "new cards are placed face down again." I don't believe that. I don't believe that clause is in the full set copy. I'll have to check. But that clause confused me, thinking that you flip the cards face down again, which would be weird. But yes, that clause does make sense for new players. Experienced players don't get confused by it. It's the same card.
Okay.
So not much to say there. Nice card to reveal what your opponents are planning for the next 2 turns.
Also, obligatory read your card reminder.
Yes,
I did not read that. I just listened to you.
Yes, read your cards. I'm not always right.
Yeah.
Oh, I know why I was confused. Wait, hold on. No, that's the Epsilon. Why is this? My reference is off. That's the Epsilon version of the card in that application. Let's see. Josh from Bunnypedia, please update your application with the newest card images from the Orange Booster. I sent them to you several months ago.
Called out.
Called out. Epsilon. There we go. We're calling people out now. The final run card of the set, and then we can get into some very specials, which means we're close to the end. Steal the One allows the player to take a card from the opponent's hand that ends in 1. They'll reveal it. The player will get to choose one to steal. More hand disruption. I like it.
Bunny to the future?
Not Bunny to the Future, but same
I know.
DeLorean.
It reminds me of that. Sounds
Yes.
like.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, Jeff is a big fan of his DeLorean. I believe that might be the same license plate that he has. Okay, moving on to the very specials, which bring up some very interesting topics that we'll go through quickly. Rerun.
I kind of want to make the games before midnight.
Yes. Rerun is an interesting inclusion. It allows the player to return one of his bunnies to his hand in between turns. The common use case for this in full set would be to avoid a roaming red, but there are no roaming reds, so I don't necessarily agree with the inclusion of this card. I don't know if it'll actually be relevant. Also commonly used to avoid Feed the Bunnies. Again, not in light.
Yeah, that seems really strange. Unless could you do it against? Are there any terrible misfortunes that affect everybody?
But those are immediately played.
Yeah, those are immediate, so that this would not. Has to be done in between two players' turns, so it wouldn't be able to rescue it from misfortune either. I'm not seeing the use case, honestly, except for exactly Selective Disclosure into Rerun, realizing the opponent has something like Cluecast. Perhaps I can see that.
Yeah.
Other than that, not too excited about Rerun. I don't like it in full set either, to be fair. But at least it has a few edge cases there. Here we go. An actually important card. Reversal Fortune, iconic card from the Quest starter set. Redirects a weapon. Very relevant since Mikey has mentioned that 20% of the cards in this deck are weapons.
Sounds like somebody was pushing aggressive strats.
That would be something Jeff would do. Okay.
The photo, the picture, is weird.
You're right. I see that. It looks like it was. I wonder if that will ever be caught in the actual printing of the card, because it looks like the old version of the image has been kind of pasted over, and they didn't quite catch all the edges of it, which is not usual of Jonathan's work. Except, well, no, Odyssey wasn't Jonathan's work, was it? I was about to say except in Odyssey, but that wasn't Jonathan. Yeah, that's unusual. I didn't notice that. Good catch, Mikey. I'm not sure if that will be fixed, but otherwise it will annoy us forever. Except for those of us that play full sets and aren't actually going to be playing lights normally, except when teaching new players. So that's a fun thing to see. Moving on to Reversal of Order, a card I despise in full set, but only because in full set the game is long, and of course this is the one that lets you reverse the direction of play. So you're normally moving clockwise to the turns. You start going counterclockwise. You get to take 2 turns in a row, but now everyone is of course confused. Whose turn is it anyway? Who knows? What do you think, Luke? Anything to add?
I also just kind of don't like these just for that annoyance, but it's whatever. Honestly, it kind of feels like it would be better just to do Bunny on the Edge of Forever. I know that's a special, not a very special, but
Oh no, Bunny on the Edge of Forever, that's a very special. I'm very glad that one's not in this set, because that would actually enable infinite attempts loop due to our next card. 2 can play that game, which allows you to replay a card played by the current turn. In this set, it doesn't seem, it could be good, replaying something like Clue Cast is a bit too strong. But one of the slightly weaker weapons like Baby Seals or Terminators, that would be quite nice to replay. One of those
Or Ruby
mid-range.
Slippers on the holographic. or
Sure,
something.
Ruby Slippers and Holographic. Even a Choose 2 Carrots would be quite impactful. But unlike full sets, we don't have any of those super mega impactful things like the Infinite Attempts Loop or anything else with Toucan in full sets, because Toucan is honestly, arguably, the strongest very special card in full sets currently.
New players listening to this podcast like, what?
They're like,
Infinite Attempts Loop?
yes. Check out
There's
the
some fun combos.
check out the Abu's Absurdities lecture on the topic. It's not as strong as it sounds in most cases.
Lemon Squeezy.
Lemon Squeezy. Interesting to mention that. I actually have some things about Lemon Squeezy that I'll bring up 5 months from now. Okay, moving on to a card that Luke has already mentioned, Banana Phone. Forces an opponent whose phone makes any type of sound to return a carrot. Please turn off your cell phones while playing Killer Bunnies for maximum strategic gain.
I despise this card.
This card never
It
sees
killed
play in my groups.
my Norwegian folk music.
Oh, I remember that. That was a sad day.
Very sad day.
Yes. Yes, this card I'm not a huge fan of because I always have my phone on silent, and most everyone does in my group because everyone knows this card exists, so therefore everyone puts their phone on silent, and this card will just be discarded and won't actually ever see play.
I just have my phone on silent normally, but I can't play music, which is sad.
Yes, very
Because
sad.
Killer Bunnies goes well with, Hardanger fiddles and, yeah, all that's Norwegian traditional music.
Quite true, quite true. Moving on.
Hei, alle nordmenn som ser på denne videoen.
Moving on to Weapon Booster. Not too much to say. Pretty standard, very special card. Boosting weapons is nice. Sure. It makes sense to include. I don't think there's too much to say about that. We're about to get into some very exciting cards because we have very soon here we'll have 2 brand new cards that no one has ever seen before. But first we have Focus Fury. Another makes sense to include card, reduces the range of a weapon. However, this is another confusing card to include because Serial Apist is not actually a ranged weapon, it's a multi-target, and not all multi-target are ranged, but all ranged are multi-target, and this will be confusing because Focus Fury cannot be used on Serial Apist due to its nature. So, another confusing entry, although in some, so one could argue, including some of these confusing mechanics, kind of gets people into full set a little bit. Gets them used to the idea of
It's got to give a lot of confusion just to
just
give a taste.
ease
of the
them
actual-
into full set, I think. Give them a little bit of confusion. They'll
Actually, without that symbol, that says check the bunny bits, it just gives the perfect, example of the frustration. Another reason why I don't necessarily care too much for the Killer Bunnies setup. For those rules, like the check the rulebook rules and
right,
the read
yes.
the manga to find out the ending type feeling.
It's very frustrating if you don't have a player in your group that has carefully studied. My groups have that benefit. Very few groups actually do.
Matthew,
Which I didn't in the good old days, and that ruined everything. Yes, that is accurate. The good old days, the dark ages.
Can we do a podcast episode about the dark ages?
Sure, someday we'll get there. We got a few to do with you, Luke. We'll have Luke back on the podcast. Because we have a lot of topics to talk about with Luke. So we will certainly do that. But what was I saying?
Get ready for some fire.
What was I saying about that? The mechanics of Killer Bunnies, if you get down to the root, are consistent. However, they are not necessarily intuitive to new players that have not carefully read the rulebook. So it is confusing to include such a card when a multi-target weapon is included. Arguably, therefore, Serial Apist should not have been included, but that's the way it is, and I think it's nice to. The counter argument is it is nice to have a multi-target weapon as opposed to a ranged weapon in the light set, just to introduce people to the idea. Okay, the moment everyone's been waiting for, a new card that no one has ever seen that will be released 3 boosters from now, 2 boosters from now, something like that. Pasta Resistance. Now, we have no idea if this is the actual text of the card in full set, because several of these cards, of course, have been changed. So this might be the real card. The card might do something very different in full set. We don't know. But in this case, a very special that can counteract any other very special. That sounds like a familiar mechanic. Sounds like Ariel's machine without the slight Equinox or Solstice benefit, but I think it's a nice card to include in this set because there are quite a few relevant, very specials like Toucan. Well, Toucan not so much in this set, but definitely Reversal Fortune. Definitely Raisin Hell. We're about to get to that one. Definitely Platinum Rosebud. Any of those would be wonderful to have a strict counterspell to them.
Yeah, this also, just like Matthew mentioned, Ariel's machine with the bonus on the Equinox and Solstice. It's just another very Killer Bunnies thing.
All those obscurities.
Today is the summer solstice. That means we get to have this amazing thing happen.
We'll love to see it. It's on my Killer Bunnies bucket list to check off each of those boxes. I have not yet done the Equinox or Solstice one.
So many of those little weird things.
Quite true. Relatively less of them in the light set, which is...
Well, for good reason.
For good reason, yes. That is quite true. Moving on to another very relevant, very special card that would also be nice to counter with Pasta Resistance that I didn't mention yet. Pink Slip allows you to turn in an aggressive card, non-aggressive. Very relevant in a set with a bit of a bunny scarcity in the sense that no triplets. Besides the natural triplets, very difficult to come by triplets. Pink Slip is therefore a very impactful card. Imagine playing Clue Cast when you don't have a bunny. Seems pretty good. Okay. We have very few cards left. We are nearing the end. Platinum Rosebud, impactful card that lets you control the destiny of the opponent's top run card. So you're like, you're looking suspicious over there. I'm going to play my Platinum Rosebud card, and now I can control whatever you do on that turn, and hopefully it's something really impactful. Maybe it's their Holographic Bunny and you get to steal it. Slightly less relevance than it is in full set because all the cards have the same back, so it's not as though you have the easy read to say, hey, this person very suspiciously set down an Ominous Onyx card, that looks like the extra super pink, I have to be worried. No, it is nothing like that. All of the card backs look the same, so it's much more difficult to get that tell, but still a very impactful card potentially. Okay, the second new card, the second moment everyone's been waiting for. Prime Time to be released in Cake Batter. We don't know what the official card text is, of course, but in this game, may be used once by a player to take any one prime numbered carrot, of which there are 2 in this set right now, and maybe only played during a prime numbered hour, which is counting in military time, by the way. So it's a very special take a carrot, but only during a very specific hour. So there you go, Luke. Obscure rules for you. Yep, your favorite.
There it is.
There it is. What do you think, Mikey?
Let's see. A prime number is a number that can only be divided by 1 in itself, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you have 10 carrots.
There's 2 of them, I believe.
Oh, are they going to count 2 as a prime number?
Yeah, that was my question.
2 is prime, yes.
Yes.
So if the card had the same...
Are they counting 1?
1 is not prime mathematically. But the carrots in this set are not numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're numbered starting at 43, 43 through 52.
Oh well, that makes it significantly more difficult.
Yes. 43 is prime, isn't it?
43 is prime, I believe. 47. One of the other numbers is prime. I'm trying to remember which one at this point. I might have to look it
Sure.
up. But yes, 2 of the carrots are prime in this set. So if this
Wait, but then
card,
the time, 2 a.m., 3 a.m.,
correct?
1 p.m.
Oh no, well, it's military time. Remember,
Yeah, 13.
13. Yes, 13.
Yeah. What else is
19.
that? 17 is that one?
17. Yep. So
Yeah.
you have to do a little bit of math. I know Mikey won't like that.
Mhm.
But
Well, I think that this is nice because it does implement some of the wacky things like you were talking about, like the solstice things and like in that, um, and things that have to fall on specific dates or times with it, like those types of cards, and it makes it relatively simpler so it can be played any day.
yes.
It just has to be at a specific time. So I like that it introduces those types of cards by making it, but still having it be relevant. Because like having one of the solstice cards in light would just obviously not make any sense because
You want to
this,
introduce new players and such a rare mechanic doesn't work.
yeah, exactly. So this is something like that, but it makes it relevant, and I like that.
You might say it's light.
Oh,
Aha!
it's late now.
One more
I'm
very
still
special.
I'm still waiting on the Killer Bunnies numerology predictions
Oh yes,
for the
I
future.
forgot to predict the end times for Luke using Killer Bunny's numerology. Killer Bunny's numerology did. No, I'm not gonna tell that story. Never mind. That would be harsh. Anyways, there is something about Tucker having a losing streak, and there's a very specific timing during that frame about moments in my life. It's very suspicious, including the number of games in those moments. Very suspicious. Watch out. I'll leave it at that.
Let's have a Killer Bunnies Matthews Party lore game once, where we just no talk about strategy, just all lore about our player group
Yes.
and all the juicy gossip.
Well, we've mentioned Chris's prophecy strats, although I've seen a contender in Luke's and Jeff's group, so it's scary. But we have one more very special, very relevant one, Raising Hell, and it immediately forces an opponent to discard the weapon they're playing and all of the weapons in their hand, so you get a bit of that Geneva Convention effect as well as eliminating the weapon being played. Very impactful in a set where weapons are so important.
Hmm.
Okay, moving on to the final cards of the set, we have a few play immediately that aren't misfortunes and a few misfortunes, so we'll start with the ones that aren't, very briefly go through them. Counterclock Warlock forces all of the players, all the bunny modifiers to rotate counterclockwise, so another way to disrupt the angel wings. The other modifiers probably don't matter too much, to be completely honest. Dark Violet's a card, a very special, a play immediately I'm very glad is in the set. Allows all players to discard up to 3 cards from their 5-card hand. Gives nice opportunity to get rid of some of those more worthless cards that won't fit their strategy and perhaps draw something new. Cycling is always a benefit. Not so much without the dollar, but still a benefit nonetheless. And last play immediately that is not misfortune, the Mayfair Emerald. It's the card that each player that has a card that has the color green in the picture and the letter L in the title of his top run card. Well, that was changed. It used to be in the card in their hand. They nerfed it. I didn't notice that before. They nerfed it for this set. That makes sense because there are only 10 carats. But if you happen to have the color green and the letter L in your top run card, you get to choose a carat. I expect Luke doesn't like this one as much.
No, it's just another Killer Bunnies wacky card, Oh wait, does this apply to everybody then?
Yes.
Oh wow. On that one, oof,
That could be scary.
that could end the game really quickly.
I haven't counted how many cards that applies to in this set, but who knows? It could be instantly choose 3 carats and then the game's over. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, what if somebody what if 3 people meet the conditions but there's only 2 carats left?
Presumably you'd go in turn order. Recently, the cards Jeff has been printing have had a clause to prevent situations like that, but Mayfair Emerald does not have such a clause. At least I don't think it does in Light. I have to check again. But yes, presumably you'd go in turn order at that point.
Gotcha.
Feels bad if you don't have a bunny.
Oh.
Okay, we have a few misfortunes. Not much to say about. Oh wait, hold on. I have to go
There's
to my
one very-
new card. Not much to say about a few of these. There's 3 normal ones, but then there's the very terrible misfortune. Oh no! Better watch out. If you draw that one, all of your bunnies will be eliminated. Very briefly, Luke and Mikey, what do you think about that one being included in this set?
Hashtag reshuffle.
Hashtag reshuffle. That's a scary reshuffle if after it's been seen and you go through all the cards and then, oh no, it's still there.
Well, I would say I would have liked to have seen an extremely terrible misfortune. Then that would have extended the game.
Yes, that definitely would have extended the game.
This is just a sad day for you.
Quite true.
And honestly, I feel like with so few carrots and so few cards, that if you get this, unless you have a bunny in your hand, there's a pretty good chance that you're not going to have a bunny by the time the game ends. Unless you get it right away at the beginning.
That's quite true. It is a very scary card for such a short game. Okay, the final grouping, the 10 carrots, never before seen. Canon for full set, we have 10 new carrots. Numbers 43 through 52. I'm not sure if you guys have looked through the carrots, but we don't need to talk about the references. But if you want to just pick your favorites, Luke, who's your favorite carrot out of the new ones? Who's lucky? Who's going to win?
I like Johnny. I know it's not the reference to it, but the hair just reminds me of Izuki Midoriya or Deku from Boku no Hero as the weeb I am. So.
I know that reference.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite carrot, Mikey?
I like Bridget. I like all of the Star Wars references that they have in here. Well, I guess there's only 2, I think, that I can see, but I like Bridget. That's there you go.
I definitely have to pick my carrot as Tom, number 51, Tom Baker, the 4th Doctor, of course. Probably one of my new favorite carrots. However, in the 2 games we played, spoiler warning. Should I spoil it? I'll spoil this. He was the first carrot to lose both times.
So, what's that spoiler?
I hope he will have a good streak in full sets like my boy Tucker, but probably not. He's probably very unlucky. He's probably cursed.
Gotta get that 111.
Yep, gotta get the 1151. Okay, that was the last topic. We made it. Hour 42. We meant to go under an hour, so sorry for the long video, I guess. I guess you can watch it in 2 parts if you so choose. Watch out for Killer Bunnies Lite coming out next month, likely. Killer Bunnies events for Gen Con in about a week. Watch for more announcements on that. Also releasing from Carrot Top Academy, we will have 2 pre-recorded tabletop simulator games that you can watch coming out next week, as well as a lecture for new players on the fundamentals needed to understand how to play Killer Bunnies Lite. I don't think I missed any announcements. Thank you, Luke, for joining. I'm sure we'll have you on for a few more episodes at the very least, because we have quite a few topics that you're perfect for. Mikey, anything you'd like to say?
It wasn't a total drag. As the heretic, go play diplomacy, guys.
Go play diplomacy, okay.
No, but thanks for having me. Sorry for interrupting. Okay.
Everybody, just stay safe. I know there's a lot of things going around that a lot of states are requiring you to wear masks now.
Don't say it. Don't say the demonetization word.
We're not monetized. Well, technically we are, but Anchor won't demonetize us.
Be safe, make smart choices, play Killer Bunnies, and Jeff bless.
Jeff, bless.